that, so-called crystal was nitrogen and was making it harder to burn and unhealthy. And that is also very common with bat guano. Bat shit, I guess, would be a more appropriate term in some sense. But really, it's good to put a little bit in for people that are growing outdoors more often than not. Indoors, it seems that the cycles are so short that it's hard to get it out at all. So I don't know of many indoor growers that use much of it. But far too often I'll know of outdoor growers that put some bat guano in the spring and they just put way too much. The plant generally can absorb all the nutrients it needs from the soil. Sure, a little bit more helps, but we were showing pictures from, was that Morocco last week?
Yeah,
or Afghan? It was somewhere over there. It might have been Morocco, but it was just like a gravel pit with a field of pot in it. And it doesn't need all the fertilizers and stuff to survive. It just maybe will help it, grow a little bit bigger and better. But certainly, there's many kinds of organic substances which can kill, let alone be unhealthy. So being able to test the products from clubs in facilities that have, gas chromatographers and mass spectrometers would allow us to test for trace amounts of all sorts of different little things that really at this point people in the industry have no idea about. They're only starting to do these kinds of tests down in California, and the Green Cross here in Canada is, to my knowledge, the only facility that has any kind of regular testing. And even then, I don't think they have the capacity to test everything that they're selling. It's the majority of it. They have a gas chromatographer, but not a mass spec. And the mass spec will be able to determine a lot of the sort of trace heavy chemicals, like heavy metals and stuff, that some of us, have some concerns, and it would be nice to test for. I don't think the mass spec can do tests for molds, for example. And so, just occasional random testing of the grow ops and the medicines is something that I think would be a really good idea model to have. And in many ways, like I say, we're just going to start doing things as if these were the rules and the standards, so that we can show people that we're doing our due diligence to have the best quality supply possible. My problem so far over the 14 years has mostly been that I started the club with a pamphlet and a pager, basically living in a van. I didn't know anybody. I had to work exclusively for middlemen for years, and the demand of the medicine that people had, the sick people coming in the door, has exceeded the growers coming in the door until now. So I'm just thrilled to bits, again, to get some of that control. Anyway.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
What Ted was talking about, the bat guano and stuff like that, what happens is the marijuana plant doesn't store the foods. It takes 27 days to pass through the whole marijuana plant. That's why people flush like for 14 days and all, and then it burns better, but it isn't totally out, like you say, right? It's because it takes 27 days. Well, advanced nutrients and companies like that have come up with other fertilizers that are organic, that the plant has like time stores in it, so it only stores in the plant for 21 days. That's why some people use it, and they say it's cleaner when they use that, than because it's actually being stored. So if you just take a hole and put lots of guano in there, when you go to flush it, the guano's still sitting in there, and every time you water it, you just send more nitrogen through the 27-day cycle. So you don't really flush it away.
Yeah, so technically, like, the only way you can flush your outdoors is if it rains a bunch in early September, but not so much if plants don't moldy, right? It's just,
you can't go 27 days with rain and not get mold.
So, that's partly why people try to cart water up the hillsides as well, especially at the end. But,
a real trick is you can take a Rubbermaid with your roots and put a bubbler in it, fill it up with fresh water every day, and just keep dumping that water. And then the water will get into the plant more than the actual feed. You'll see the water change color.
Cool. There's so much to know about how this plant grows that we could have a 22 lecture series based on the different components of it.
But flushing's so important.
Oh, yeah, we could have a class on curing. We could have a class. Right. There's, like I say, we could break it up into 22 sections. My hope one day is to have, this broken up into different parts and pieces, history, current, and growing are really the three that I had already conceived of, and one day that will happen. Because it's neat. That's why I want to go see what everybody's doing that I work with, because there's so many ways. I even have people growing pot that want me to do inspections, even though I don't want to take it, but they know they want to take my picture signing their wall saying I've certified it. So yeah, it's going to be neat to see how much I learn in the next year, and we'll see how much I know right now. So 2 ways to get plants growing, aside from having a full one just given to you. Sprouting seeds. They used to be so easy to get, it came in every bag, just about one, right? But gradually people, indoors and out, weaned the seeds, at least from the open market in some sense. And there is a whole economy now around seeds and genetics that in some ways has enhanced the movement, but in other ways has made it really hard to get a hold of seeds if you're not forking out some good money for them. But in a lot of ways, seeds are best for certain conditions, but for most growers, there's such a pain for the length of time that they take to get going, for the guessing of whether or not they're hermaphrodites. And again, that depends on the seed companies and the people selling them seeds, because far too often you can have problems with hermaphrodites or males or unstable genetics, because it takes quite a while, like more than one generation to be sure. I could be wrong. I'm going to say it's not till you've got a third generation of the same seeds being basically first the ma and pa crossed, and then the kind of the best of the bunch being crossed again, back and forth, male and female. I had a grower once tell me, or actually a seed breeder, that seed production's just it's not science. We're talking about the natural world, and so if you have ma and a pa, and you're like wanting the best of both, well, you can take their seeds and divide them up into 10 if you're somehow able to do that, and 10% are going to be bright and strong and have the best characteristics of both parents, and 10% are going to be a little bit smaller and slower and such, and then you're going to have this real collection of individuals in between. And it's real science to be able to cross two plants and be able to look at the seeds or the growing plants and determine that, well, that's got the healthiest immune system, and it's going to be able to be cloned, because not all plants like that as well. It's like, it takes quite a bit to figure out, and stabilize two parents that you're trying to come up with in genetics. And in some ways, it's almost, because I think of the control of the seeds, gone in the direction where everybody's trying to come up with their own genetics so that they can make money off it. But either way, there's thousands of different strains out there, some more stable than others. I don't know how many kinds of hash plant I've had by now, but it's the sort of thing that even when you come to cloning, things change over time, and most of the people that I work with, most people in the industry, in any kind of a, just like this is my life sort of situation, they're cloning.